Hello and welcome to the transcription explanation of this design. It was done to be a relatively small tattoo behind the ear, and I am actually a little nervous about the scale of this design and how it'll function. So before we get into the explanation of how this design is read, I want to show some variations and options that I also want to include with this commission, so that way you get a tattoo that over the years still ends up being something you love. So this is the design done in about as simple a style as I could, with everything unraveled, while still adding some fun emphasis on the word bad wolf here. But this is what I think it'll look like in a couple years after I have blurred it a tad and increased the line width from the minimum. So this is the minimum needle thickness for most needles of 0.3, and then this bumps up the thickness of the lines to what they tend to blur into, which is about 0.7 or 1 millimeter of thickness is what it tends to bleed into. And I mean, this looks okay. This isn't like the worst tattoo in the world if it ends up bleeding like this, but I also did a couple of other here's a couple of other examples, and this is just the word bad wolf, which I think would fit a bit nicer in the 1.5-inch space behind your ear, even after blurring, even after the lines increase their width to about 0.7 to 1 millimeter for the thinnest stuff. Plus, I think the tapers blur out nicely. And then I also, this is a fancier design, one that I already had done, that shows kind of like what it is in a normal, well, in my regular style, as opposed to, so here's the simple style, here's the regular style. So I was able to shrink the whole phrase from this big to that big and still look good, but this becomes very smudge-like if you end up shrinking that down to be the size of your ear. And then there's this design. It's kind of unraveled, and it gives it a little bit more space, so it can kind of go along the side, as opposed to just be a circle, and still kind of match, like, behind your ear and in your hairline. With that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and read just this design here, and then this design here. So you read this script starting at the bottom and you go counterclockwise, like a time traveler going back in time. So here's a word, here's a word, here's a word, here's two words, except I did these actually in a little circle, and then word, word, word. So this is I am the bad wolf, I create myself. And in this word, our word I is just a vowel. Vowels are these little circles. And these vowels are open in the middle to differentiate from these dots around here. And an I has a line going inwards towards the middle of our word circle. So that is the word I. And then here we have an A outside the word circle and an M with 1, 2, 3 lines. So it's floating inside our word circle but has 3 lines on it. So if you look above me, there is a little grid, and the different rows are the letter stems, which I'll note. So here's a floating circle, which is in the second row, and then the crossing circles in the bottom row. Deep divots like these are all in the top row, and then shallow divots like these are in the third row. So row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. And then the columns are the amount of dots by them or lines on them. So yeah. I, line going inwards. Oh, and then the vowels are the little circles down kind of at the bottom corner of the little grid above me. And they have different positions if they're by themselves or if they're attached inside one of the consonants. So I, line going inwards. A, outside the word circle. M with 3 lines. TH crosses with no dots or lines, so that's a TH. And then there's the E, the. B has no dots or lines. A, outside the word circle. 1, 2, 3 dots on this deep divot for the D. 1, 2 lines on the W. O is floating inside. L has 3 dots. F is a deep divot with 3 lines. So, bad wolf. I, line going inwards. 1, 2 dots on this letter, which is the letter K. And in this script, the letter C didn't used to exist. In fact, in the original script and the one that's adopted on the official BBC app, uses a S or a K instead of the letter C anytime you were gonna write the or k sound with an S or a C. That's what you replace the S to a C here, because that was how you did it in the original script. And yes, there's a letter C now in the grid above me, but I wanted to keep it classic. Also, decrease the amount of dots I had to put here, so I only have to put 2 dots instead of 4 dots. That's also why I spell circles as Sirkles. So yeah, 2 dots, and then 3 dots on the R, E, A, T, E. So K-R-E-A-T, create. M with 1, 2, 3 lines, Y with 2 dots, 1, 2, 3 lines on the S, E centered, 3 dots on the L, F with 1, 2, 3 lines. So that's that design. And it is still legible in this rendition here. I am the bad. I mean, it looks like, there's a third dot there. WOLFIKREATE MYSELF. So yeah, that's that design. I hope you like it, and I will send you the files for these 3 other options, as well as your thin line full design. So yeah, that's that. Thanks, bye.